Hello guys, Jamie the English Genie here, back again with another video for you. So this week I've taken a bit of a break from social media to focus on some other things, especially now that schools are coming back. Now, a few weeks ago I did a video, actually I live streamed a video where we discussed some vocabulary about the coronavirus. And it was a very popular video, actually, my most popular one yet. And some people asked me to do more like that. So I've decided to do a little series of coronavirus videos. This is part 2, called An Uncertain World. Each part of this series will take a look at different ways the coronavirus has impacted the world and vocab we need to talk about those different impacts, okay? So, an uncertain world. What's the theme of this lesson? Well, as you know, the coronavirus has affected everyone. It's affected their plans, their goals, their dreams, their aspirations for this year. It's affected movies, it's affected the release of anything important, it's affected travel, everything. And we don't know when things are gonna go back to normal. We have no idea. So everything is very uncertain. And today we're gonna be looking at some vocabulary and idioms that we can use to discuss this uncertainty, okay? So let's begin. First of all, word number 1, unprecedented. 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 Now, if you read any English news about the coronavirus, I bet you have seen this word so many times. And it's not a difficult word to understand or use. What unprecedented means is that we are discussing something that has never been seen or never been experienced before in the past. So politicians and scientists and experts, they call the coronavirus an unprecedented virus. It's a virus which the world has never had to deal with before, experience before, or see before. It's something brand new. An example of this in a sentence: Britons, people from Great Britain or the UK, Britons organised an unprecedented clap for all the health workers fighting the coronavirus. That means they organised a clap, which they've never done before, they've never experienced before, for all the health workers fighting the coronavirus. Okay? So unprecedented means something that has never been seen or experienced in the past. Now, an idiom that some people might use is uncharted waters or uncharted territories. We are going into uncharted waters. This means that we are going into a situation that we have no experience of, that we are completely unfamiliar with. Politicians are saying that the world is going into uncharted waters. If the world is going into uncharted waters, it means that the world is going into a period which we have never had to experience before. Therefore, everything is new, everything is uncertain. We have no idea what will happen because this is uncharted waters. We can say to go into uncharted waters. We can say to head into uncharted waters. We can say to be in uncharted waters, okay? And it just means going into a situation that is unfamiliar to us, that we have no experience of. An example: this virus is taking us into uncharted waters. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. The next one, in limbo. So limbo is a bit of a funny one. Actually, Limbo is that game that people often play on a beach where you have a stick and they move the stick lower and lower and lower and you have to walk under it. That's Limbo. However, we have a phrase which is to be in limbo. And what this means is that you are in a very undecided or uncertain state. You're waiting for whatever happens next. You can't do anything about it. You're just stuck waiting for something to happen so that you can move on. Let's look at an example to help you understand this. Most of the population is in limbo while they wait for the government to let them leave their homes again. Most of the population is in limbo while they wait for the government to let them leave their homes again. So this means that everyone who has been told to stay at home can't do anything. They can't do anything to move forward in their lives because they can't go outside. They're stuck and their lives are basically controlled right now. Everything is uncertain. They can't do anything or decide anything until whatever happens with the coronavirus, until they are told it's safe to leave the house again. So we use in limbo to describe this situation where you have no control because of very undecided or uncertain events. I am in limbo while I wait for the schools to open again. I can't do anything until the schools open again. Up in the air, another idiom that is very commonly used. So up in the air, this is an idiom that describes a situation where the future is uncertain, unresolved, or undecided, because something else must happen first. An example, because of the virus, my plans to return home are up in the air. My plans, which I had plans to go home, are up in the air. I don't know how my plans will be affected until this virus situation is over. Okay? So my plans are up in the air. I had plans. I still have plans, kind of, but I don't know how I can do those plans until the virus is over. Okay? Many things are up in the air right now. The opening dates of schools were up in the air, and in some countries they still are. The release dates of movies and video games are up in the air. They've had to be delayed, and now they're up in the air because we don't know when they will be released. Okay? Sometimes they might say a date, but if the virus continues longer, then the release dates are still up in the air because they have to be changed again. So this is up in the air, a situation of which the future is uncertain, unresolved, or undecided because something else must happen first. The next one. This is an abbreviation, TBD or TBA. What this stands for is to be determined or to be announced. So we discussed a moment ago about movies and video games which have been delayed. There was a release date, and now the companies don't want to release them until the world is normal again. If the release date is not known, they will say that the release date is TBD or TBA. It's not decided yet, or it's not been revealed to the public yet. It's still to be determined or to be decided, TBD, or it's still to be announced, TBA. So you can use this for many things other than films and video games. Of course, lots of businesses have been closed and they don't know when they can reopen. They don't have any control, so they have to say, the opening date is TBD. It's to be decided. because they don't know. An example, I spoke to the hairdresser this morning and she said that the reopening date of her shop is still TBD. It's still to be determined or to be decided. The next one, skepticism. Skepticism is the noun form of the word skeptical. And skeptical means to doubt the truth of certain information. So this is when you read something or someone tells you something, and in your head you think, is that true? I don't 100% believe it. I think there might be something wrong with that. I don't believe the truth. An example, there is a lot of skepticism about whether or not a successful vaccine can be developed. So there's been information saying that a vaccine will be developed, but if you doubt that, if you doubt that a vaccine can be made, then you are skeptical about it. There is skepticism about it. There are doubts that a vaccine, a successful vaccine, can be developed. Another example, Trump said we can beat this virus in 3 weeks, but I'm very skeptical. Trump said we can beat this virus in 3 weeks, but I'm very skeptical. I don't agree with Trump. I doubt that information. I doubt that this situation can be fixed in just 3 weeks. Okay? So I'm not saying it's untrue. I'm just saying that I doubt it or I don't fully believe it. I'm skeptical. Okay? So this is what skepticism or skeptical means. And if you are someone who is skeptical about a lot of things, you can call yourself a skeptic. A skeptic. Okay? And that means you are a person who gets skeptical about a lot of different things. Very good. To get ahead of yourself. To get ahead of yourself. Now, this is a little more difficult to use, and I'll try my best to explain it to you here. So to get ahead of yourself, this means to get too overconfident about something that you take action or plan to take action about it too early. Okay? You do something in response to something because you are so confident, overconfident, that you take action early. For example, they didn't have a new case of the virus for 5 days, but they got ahead of themselves and fully reopened the country too soon. They got ahead of themselves. They said, okay, 5 days is enough. We are done with the virus. It's gone. It's not coming back. Let's reopen the country. And if they're getting ahead of themselves, then it implies that it's possible the virus could come back. They're opening the country too early. Okay? They've become so confident because 5 days without virus that they've already made the decision to reopen the country. And they could see a negative impact of that. To get ahead of yourself. Another example might be that I do well in a test. Okay? I do very well in a test, and then I decide to say that I'm going to become a professional at that subject in the future. And I might be getting ahead of myself. There might be a lot of things I haven't considered. Okay? So I'm becoming too overconfident based on one thing that I take action too early without the proper preparation. Okay? That is to get ahead of yourself. Out of the woods. Out of the woods. I like this phrase, and it's quite an easy one to use and to explain. Now, if you are out of the woods, that means that you have just overcome a very difficult or dangerous situation. An example. There was only one new positive case of the virus this month in the whole country. We must be out of the woods now. There was only one new positive case this month. So now we must be out of this dangerous situation. It must be over, right? That's what this example is telling us. It's telling us that the danger, the difficulty, is behind us. We're out of the woods. We've escaped the situation. We're safe again. We're good again. We're happy again. So to be out of the woods means that you have already overcome some kind of difficulty and now you are free of any trouble or danger. Out of the woods. Very nice phrase, very common to use, very easy to use. I think you can incorporate that into your language quite easily. To bounce back. Now, to bounce back, again, this is a very common phrase to use, and it's not so difficult to understand. Now, normally to bounce is when you throw a ball at the floor and it bounces, it comes back up. Basketball players have to bounce the ball up and down, up and down, up and down. But we can use bounce back as an idiom. And this idiom means, after suffering from some defeat or bad situation, if you bounce back, then you have returned to normal quite quickly. So if something really bad happens to you, let's say you break your leg, but just a few days later, you feel happy again, you feel ready to work again, okay? Your leg might not be better, but you might feel normal. And that is to bounce back. It's after something bad happens, if you bounce back, you return to normal very quickly, okay? An example, he quickly bounced back after he caught the virus. After he caught the virus and was done with the virus, he became normal very quickly again. He bounced back. This one, to rise from the ashes. This is not something that you are going to use in your everyday language, okay? This is, let's say, a more dramatic or more poetic way of saying to bounce back. It's something someone might use in a speech. And it means, after a really bad situation, something or someone will return to normal. If someone is giving a speech, they might say, even if the virus has a horrible effect on our economy, we will rise from the ashes and be successful again. Now, this phrase is interesting, and it comes from a bird called a phoenix. Now, if you've seen Harry Potter, Dumbledore gives a very good explanation of this. A phoenix, when it dies, supposedly sets on fire and becomes dust, it becomes ashes. But a new phoenix will be born from those ashes, okay? So the phoenix dies, turns into dust or ashes, and a new phoenix will rise from those ashes. So we get this phrase, we can rise from the ashes, we can be reborn, we can be normal once again. So this is rise from the ashes. Resilient. Resilient. Resilient is an adjective that describes a person who has the ability to bounce back or rise from the ashes very quickly. Okay, that's it. If you can bounce back from something very quickly, you are a resilient person. An example, when you lost your job, you were very resilient and you found another one almost immediately. That means the person didn't cry, they didn't get upset, they didn't spend weeks complaining or feeling sad or down. No, immediately they started looking for another job to move on with their lives. They showed strength, they showed the ability to bounce back very quickly. They were resilient. Good, and the very last one of today's presentation, guys. To wing something. To wing something is an alternative way of saying to improvise something. And this means that you do something, often something difficult, without any preparation first. So let me give you an example, which is, my teacher never prepares his lessons. It's obvious that he wings them. He wings them. He doesn't prepare them. He just comes to class, starts speaking, and hopes that he will give a good lesson without preparing it. Okay? So this is what it means to wing something. For example, comedians. Comedians prepare a little, but often they have to wing certain things. Okay? If an audience member says something, then they have to wing a response. They have to reply by improvising without preparing. Okay? So to wing something means to do something, often something difficult, without preparing it first. So that's it from me, the English Genie, today, guys. I'll be back again soon with another video for you. If you're returning to school this week, I wish you the very best and I hope you enjoy yourselves. And I'll see you again soon, guys. As always, if you like this video, please like it, comment, subscribe. Anything you can do to help me, guys, would be very much appreciated. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye from me.